Mike Meagher earned a reputation as one of the finest lawmen of the Old West. During the 1870s, his courage, honesty, and unshakable skill set him apart while patrolling Kansas in the rugged Indian Territory. Known for his grit and no-nonsense approach, Meagher upheld the law in the untamed towns of Oklahoma and Kansas. But his story took a tragic turn. After serving as mayor of Caldwell, Kansas, his life was cut short in a shocking act of violence. Born in Ireland on April 2, 1843, Mike Meagher's journey to the American frontier was anything but ordinary. After immigrating to the United States with his family and settling in Illinois, both he and his twin brother John answered the call to serve in the Civil War. Their path eventually led them westward to Kansas, where Mike's grit and determination truly shined. Starting out as a stagecoach driver, Meagher's knack for leadership quickly earned him the role of marshal in Wichita in 1871. In a bold move, he appointed his brother John as assistant marshal, forming a formidable team alongside lawmen like Billy Smith, Charles Bratton, and even the legendary Wyatt Earp. After 3 intense years of keeping Wichita's streets in check, Meagher moved on to Indian Territory, trading his badge for the rugged life of a freight wagon driver. But destiny had more in store. By 1874, he returned to law enforcement as a U.S. deputy marshal, cementing his legacy in the wild and dangerous frontier. Just a year later, Mike Meagher found himself back in Wichita, once again donning the badge as marshal. Known for his restraint, Meagher rarely resorted to drawing his gun to keep the peace, and in his time as Wichita's marshal, he only took one life. That life belonged to Sylvester Powell, a man with a grudge. On New Year's Day, 1877, Powell, still bitter about an earlier arrest, decided to make his anger known in the most reckless way possible. Armed and dangerous, he opened fire on an outhouse behind Hope's Saloon, unaware that Meagher was inside. A bullet grazed Meagher, wounding him slightly, but the lawman wasn't about to let this slide. When the dust settled, it was Powell who lay dead, a stark reminder of the risks that came with wearing the badge in the untamed streets. Mike Meagher's journey eventually led him to Caldwell, Kansas, where he traded his badge for a saloon. But Meagher wasn't one to stay out of the fray for long. By April 1880, he'd become the mayor of Caldwell, swiftly shaking things up by replacing the entire police force. His bold move didn't sit well with the ousted marshal George Flatt, who made his bitterness public by badmouthing the new administration. By June, tensions boiled over. Flatt was found shot to death, and suspicion fell squarely on Meagher and his newly appointed police force. Arrested for murder, they faced trial, but in true frontier fashion, no convictions followed. Then came December 17, 1881, when Meagher's life took its final violent turn. A shootout erupted between Meagher and Jim Talbot, backed by 3 gunmen. The gunfire was so intense that a local hardware store began handing out weapons and ammunition to the townsfolk. When the dust settled, Meagher was dead. Though one of Talbot's men was convicted, Talbot himself walked free, at least for a time. Rumor has it, vengeance caught up with him later, courtesy of Mike's brother John, who was spotted trailing Talbot from the courthouse.